So let me get right into the first question is, um, what were your considerations as you're evaluating if I'm going to purchase a company or not versus just organic growth strategy? What made you say I think we're going to look at this?
Well, without making a long-winded story, we are challenged with both capability, capacity, space, all those things here in our location in Rochester. And as we started looking at what our options were for expansion, obviously before the pandemic, I was considering a new building, bigger footprint, obviously, to be able to, do the business we wanted to do for our clients, have adequate space for warehousing, shop, setup areas, things like that. Fast forward, the pandemic came. We obviously tabled all that. We went back to the drawing board after the pandemic, probably late 2021, looking at options, and the money that I was looking at spending to build a new facility in 2018 uh, built me much less of a facility in 2021 or 2022. And it just became really uh, a decision to scrap that idea. And my son Ethan, who's involved in running operations in the company, and I were strategizing on how to, where do we find more space? Where do we find more capability? Um, and we started looking at competitors regionally, and Exhibits and More, which is a 40 plus year company in the business, is about an hour down the thruway in Syracuse from us, and we actually employ a few of their former employees here. So I had a little bit of information. We casually known each other over the years, and I essentially sent an email to one of the others and said, "Listen, when the day comes and you're looking to look for an exit out of this thing, please keep us in mind because I know you have a great facility, great team, and we'd like to have a conversation." So that's how that started. And a week later, I got an email from one of the other partners and said, "Let's have breakfast." So we started um, the conversation, and the motivation for us to do this particular transaction was capability, space, and a little bit of market share. Obviously, there was some attractiveness to the customer base that they had, but primarily the fact that their facility is double the size of mine. So it enabled me to pick up 40,000 additional square feet of warehouse space, double my shop capacity. They have a great fabrication team in place over there. In some cases, a little bit better equipped than our current shop, only because of the space concerns that we have here. And we started to have a conversation about that, and that's how it started. And it took us a year to the day exactly.
I'm going to stop you for a second. So this is fascinating. So you and your team had already made the decision. There's a big spend in our life. We were thinking it was either going to be real estate. You weighed what you get for the dollars. And so I just think usually what we hear is I'm in the pursuit of revenue growth. We're looking at an acquisition for revenue and customers. And I heard you mention that, but it was like third or fourth on your list, right? It really was, it was your own space needs, capacity, maybe an expansion of capabilities and what they're offering. Talent, when you talk about expanding, you got to talk about talent. So you're plugging right into a pool of talent because I'm sure you check that out, the employers there. So this wasn't just a revenue play. This really was solving your own business's problems just in a different way. And so I think about the hand wringing that happens, right, with owners thinking about, gosh, I'm going to spend a lot of money if I buy another company. The hand wringing part on the money was over because you go, I got to either build a place, buy land, where do I do that? And that's one, I find that interesting.
It was realistically much more efficient and cost effective for me to look at this avenue versus building a new building that I then had to figure out a fund. Obviously, we have real estate that we could have, applied to that, but this discussion was really much easier in that now we have an operation that will realistically, we hope, self-fund the acquisition because it's revenue generating. So obviously the customer base, the revenue was a factor, but it wasn't the primary one.
Was geography a consideration for you? I mean, did you go say, I'm going to look at companies within X period of time, or was the United States wide open for you, or maybe other market considerations?
No, I mean, we're kind of married to upstate New York, so we wanted to stay regional. It didn't have to be, we have a competitor that's less than 3 miles up the road, but they weren't a consideration. But the the ease of travel for us in upstate New York is really easy. So now we obviously have the team that we brought on in Buffalo in January. We're in Rochester, a little bit east of Rochester, and now in Syracuse. We are exactly in the middle of these two other locations. So we're an hour to Buffalo or an hour to Syracuse. And obviously most of the work, the support work, sales process, production happens in Rochester, and now it will happen also in Syracuse. But it just made for an easy decision. It creates a little complication because you do have to move some stuff around, and we'll have a truck weekly going back and forth to Syracuse, probably a couple times a week, delivering exhibits or bringing stuff that we're having fabricated there back to our place here, and vice versa. But it made sense for us to just kind of hone in on upstate New York, as much as the business climate in New York is not always favorable for small business. There is a great deal of positive, outlook for New York State, especially the upstate corridor right now. We have Micron Manufacturing coming to Syracuse, which is a major part of the beneficiary of the CHIPS Act, that's going to bring, I believe, 14,000 jobs to the area.
Fantastic.
So the workforce there is developing. I think it's going to be a boom in the future, in the coming years. So it just made sense for us to kind of stay right here.